and it's a dad hat.
And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 89th episode of Game Theory Gang. I'm Matty Allen with ChrispyMan of HEXfire.io and Tobiwan Hexobi. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Good to see you.
We got a great show for you tonight, and Hex is on sale today. It's like, Cyber Tuesday or something. So that's going to be exciting, but there's a lot of really good topics today. We've got the bridge having some hiccups if you're on a different planet, if you're in the interplanetary file system. We got your friend Sami showing his face.
What?
Like a strawberry biscuit? Yeah.
I know. So, what a handsome guy. Woo.
Lots of man crushes happened, today. So, yeah, we got the real Sami.
Wow.
Not an AI after all.
Handsome fella.
Or how about this? Or is he? Maybe
correct. Correct. So this hat in particular, I think, was a particularly good reveal because apparently, if you live in Australia, this is something you're issued with like dangly corks, and that helps to keep the flies away. That's what I'm told. Yeah. So he doesn't explain it here, but that's the context. And of course, the first comment that I dropped, I was like, I really hope Sami speaks live at the HEX conference, and 144 people liked that comment. So it's like basically the top comment there. So hopefully he'll oblige. But either way, I think he broke his facelessness in order to help pump your bags for HEX and Pulse Chain. So that's pretty cool.
I'm here for it. Cool, man. Trying to get the chat up so I can see what's going on over there in the chat. So I've got some news, personal news. It's kind of it's along the lines of longevity and sci-vivishness and Aubrey de greatness. I ended up getting some stem cells. So I was actually in Colombia last week when I was on with you guys briefly and got some stem cells stuck into my discs in my back and intravenously. So far, so good. Takes a few months typically to feel like the full results of it, but I feel very fortunate to have been able to do it. A lot of people have had really good results. One of the things that was striking was that I got a new MRI while I was there. And apparently for the last few months, I've been walking around with a fractured vertebra. And it's like, well, that makes sense why my back hurt so much more than usual. So the doctor told me, he goes, okay, you can see here where you have the fracture and we're going to put the stem cells in the disc, but that will heal, that will fix this too. And I said, wait. I'm like, did you just say my back's broken, but this is going to fix it? And he goes, yes. And I said, okay, fantastic. I'm like, let's go. So they knocked me out and shot me up. And a few days later, I am home from Colombia. And so far, so good. So
welcome back.
Thanks, man. I mean, you're a poster child for it. So you had good results. So hopefully I will be the next success story in the HEX community with stem cells.
Boom.
Yeah. But I onboarded like a mofo down there. And I mean, because it's like, it is not a cheap procedure. There was no HEX sold to pay for my stem cell situation. But I definitely spoke with lots of people, and typically people that are doing those types of things. And then some of the people that were doing they were doing like next level, like 3 times the amount of stuff I was having done. So I can't imagine what kind of money they were throwing at it. And some people had been there multiple times. So obviously some people with some means, and they were all very excited about HEX and Pulse Chain. And so I got to chat up some people and have some calls scheduled for later over the next couple of weeks to help walk some people through getting onboarded. So that's the key, man. We got to keep spreading the good word.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Thank you for your service. I think the people who are onboarding now, it's a big deal. It's a good time to be onboarding when there are discounts, when there's blood in the streets. That's typically a good time to buy if you're a believer or if you're putting, more funds in. We got Super Hex Win in the chat here. I think I heard him about a month ago saying he was selling some cars or motorcycles or watches to buy more Hex and the surrounding assets. So I think there's still plenty of believers out there who are sticking around. And but Hex is having a certain dip right now. The P-Hex is down like 20% on the day. E-Hex is just under half a penny. P-Hex under an eighth of a penny.
Hey, something else I wanted to, that like kind of came to me. Maybe it was the stem cells that were in my brain that that kicked off these thoughts. I think there's some people sitting on their laurels a bit as far as onboarding goes. And I understand personally, it is harder when we have been in a down market for a very long time. There are additional challenges when you're talking about a forked chain and bridges and all those things. And so I get it. I commiserate with the extra complexity that's involved in doing that. But that's a challenge, right? It's either an obstacle or a challenge, or a little bit of both. And, it's up to you how you choose to deal with it. But I think it's important that we continue to educate and push forward. I mean, like Maddie's doing on this stream, and we try to do every week. And, what we're doing all the time with Twitter and other socials and in real life, obviously. But I think there's a lot of people maybe sitting on their laurels a little bit, just waiting on the SEC thing to blow over. And, and maybe I was even in that camp a little,
we don't give them any free advertising here.
No. But whatever the dark cloud of the day is, whether it's that or some other bad news or FUD that's floating around, you name it, we've seen it all over the last 4 years. Waiting for those things to clear. So like someone else can pump my bags, or someone else can like grow the community or get better adoption. It's lazy, right? So it's like, I think, everyone needs to just like, put on their big boy pants, get out there.
I don't know who you're talking about, because all the people I see and all the people I talk to, they are, they're doing the good work. They're volunteering.
Well, you called it though. But you called it. You saw. But you're seeing those people. What I'm saying is the people we don't see yet. I want to see more people. Just like if you go back 2 years, we have so many more streamers now than we did. We have so many more people on socials than we did. We have so many more people out in real life talking about it. And I want that growth to continue. So it's like I would love to see as many new faces by this time next year as we've seen year over year. And,
that's part of the point. Part of the point of the HEX conference is to increase participation. And the last conference that we put on in the summer, that inspired KDP to start streaming, and now she has a channel. Go subscribe to her, right? And there's tons of people who are still showing up. We got Sami showing his face. We got Hexo doing daily streams again. Go check out Hexologist. He's out there doing the good work every day again. So
hey, KDP said she would come on with us. We just got to align the schedules a bit, but she said she was open to come and join in for a Game Theory Gang evening.
Awesome. So, this is the most consistent show that there is, with the most consistent viewers, and we're grateful for that.
Let me take both of your comments and bring them both together. I think that there are quite a few people that are doing a lot of people doing a lot of onboarding, but I also think we could do a lot better. And so bring both those ideas together. I want to give credit to the ones that are actually doing the work, because they're definitely doing some hard work. I've been seeing, like, I'm involved in a lot of different areas, and strong currents right now of people looking for shiny new things, and not just because they're degenerate and they're chasing things, but just honestly just looking at all sorts of things, getting involved in things. And I'm feeling more and more like I'm with the last people standing, in terms of HEX. To the extent that I'm getting ready to do a stream that's going to focus on Quattro Cinco staking only, because I really think it really is that strong of a current out there, Maddie. So now is the time for those of us who believe to keep putting out the information, for sure.
There's a bunch of crybabies on Twitter, and they don't represent the community. I see people showing up when the cards are really down, people disappear, but people are still here. So I'm 100%. still believing. And if anything, it's a good thing if there are a bunch of crybabies who want to sell. and give everybody else a better deal who's trying to get an entry and who's trying to accumulate. And look, Hexologist, he said it really well. He said he's tired of dips. He doesn't want any more chips in dip. He's had enough dips and he's ready to go straight up. Now, look, Ethereum is pumping like crazy. Bitcoin pumping like crazy. So the people who are selling their altcoins right now, the quality ones, are probably pretty foolish because they're chasing something that is really already has a lot of adoption, already has a lot of people's eyes on it. And look, I'm not going to tell you that ETH is a bad thing. I like ETH. ETH is deflationary now. This has never happened before in a bull market where Ethereum was deflationary. So there's lots of cool things about Ethereum. But you know what's more cool than Ethereum? Pulse Chain, because it's even more deflationary and it's less adopted and it's got more potential. In my humble opinion, not financial advice.
Well, so let's address that real quick, because probably some people had heard this too. Oh man, I won't call it FUD, but and I'll be a little bit nicer than just saying people are crying about it. I am getting like tons and tons of feedback and messages, and just the woe is me. I know that kind of sounds like crybaby, but Pulse isn't going up, and then and everything else is, and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, at first my reaction is pretty negative, like what the hell, guys? Don't you know what the hell's going on? But then I take a step back, and say, well, yeah, first off, I've been around for a long time, and then I've been in crypto since 17, so maybe they don't understand, right? So probably a good opportunity to talk about it tonight for a few minutes, right? BTC has been leading all year from the beginning of the year. You look at the bottom. You can see it on the chart. Now we can call it that if you want, right? You can see it on the chart. BTC has been leading all year. Ethereum went sideways until October. And now it is following Bitcoin up. And you can see it on the moving averages as well. Nearly anything that's pumping started a few days after ETH. Right. And so what we're seeing is the beginnings of rotation, right? Where as crypto goes up, all, rising sea lifts all boats. But eventually, right, I'm assuming Pulse Chain fits into this, right? You're able to, what happens is that value begins to shift as people reorientate into new things. It happens every time, right? At least what we've seen. So yeah, I'm relying on the past to say this, but our time will come. It just, and in part we have, if you look at October at the Pulse chart, we did pump. So anyways, I think that as we move along, much like in TradFi, different sectors, will rotate. We're going to have to see that in crypto as well. So just because we didn't go first, I would have liked to have been first, doesn't mean we're not going. Right. So let's wait it out and see what happens here. But now is exactly the wrong time to get flooded out, in my opinion, not final advice.
If you wanted to sell a Pulse on a 3X, you already got a chance to do that. Okay. If you wanted to buy at a huge discount, yeah, you're getting a chance to do that. So, I mean, I don't understand what the problem is. You all had a chance to sell at 3X. People had a chance to sell Hex this year at 10 or 12 cents. You had that chance. If you didn't take it, like many of us who are long-term thinkers didn't take it because that wasn't the move. So if you're getting impatient because it is trading down so much, well, that's completely understandable. But at the same time, why didn't you sell at 12 cents? If you had the opportunity, why didn't you? Is because either you were greedy or because you're a true believer. So
hey, can I add something to that? Because the 12-cent thing sparked something I wanted to talk about anyhow. I think narratives are important, right? And I think, especially like as, you guys are out there more frequently than I am, but anyone that's got a voice in the community and is being heard a lot, we can drive that narrative. So I think very much like we kind of all rallied around like the 10,000X being 52 to 56 cents. we kind of helped that become a reality, right? That was the top because people kind of anticipated it. We could have gone the other way, which is what Richard was saying in Zurich, which was like, actually, there's maybe another 10x to go beyond that because he was measuring from all-time low. So he could hit his 10x or 10,000x quicker. If he measured from actual launch, we had higher to go. But the point being currently is what I see a lot of people talking about. We're 50 cent below SAC rate. We're 50 cent below SAC rate. I'm not 50 cent below SAC rate. It's like I'm actually up because I had a large enough stake to where I was high enough on that ladder to where I wasn't 10,000 to 1. And there's a lot of people. I'm not some guy that's up there in the upper echelons with like the Rackham crew and the Saudis. I'm like, I'm down the ranks a bit, and still
you're a multiplier, bro.
But yes, I got a good multiplier. I got a good multiplier.
Hell no.
Briz got a good multiplier. He's posted it on Twitter. And
we need to cancel you guys immediately.
But check this out. Here's the deal. And that's a multiplier that we benefited from. And HEX, when we were trading that in, was around 12 cents, right? Anywhere from 12 to 20 cents, something like that.
Yes.
Right. So in other words, you locked your profit in, and you locked it in Pulse. So if you had just held that same amount of HEX to now, you would have been so much, even if you staked it, you would have been so much further down than you doing the smart move in hindsight, which was to sacrifice for Pulse, right? And those people are nowhere near down. If you do that math, we're up considerably, right? So it's like, I think instead of like this woe is me narrative of like, oh, we're 50% below SAC, 50%. Are we? No, collectively, I think, odds on most people that sacrificed are actually in the green.
ETH,
I haven't done the math, but
ETH has not tripled in the past 3 months. HEX did triple in the past 3 months and then went back down. So like, I think all the people who are complaining about the price are just jelly donuts and they're jealous and they need to like,
well, they need to zoom out.
Think.
It's history.
They need to zoom out and think.
Yeah, it's history, bros. It's like, think about it. It's like, and I mean, I'm not trying to be salty and like, talk down to anybody, but it's so frustrating because it's so easy to just get lost. It's like the frog in the boiling water, and you just like, all of a sudden it's like you're being boiled alive and you're dying and you don't even realize it. And it's like, and this is a shit example, but the idea behind it is that we've been here. This is what happens. The economic energy. Do you think the reason that Bitcoin is pumping is all brand new money? It's all no coiners coming in and pumping it? No, money inside crypto is sloshing around. There's some new money coming in, sure. And there will be more new money coming in like we always do when we get the parabolic run. And then people love, retail investors love to buy green candles. But right now there's economic energy that's already in crypto sloshing around. And where are they going? They're following green candles. So alts are taking a hit while Bitcoin and Ethereum are making the run. Look at the 4-year cycle. It happens every freaking time. Bitcoin and Ethereum spike. Once they have their blow off top, then what happens next? People go looking for yield. They start taking profits out of their Bitcoin and Ethereum that they've made money on. And then they start rolling it back into alts. And the good ones kick ass. I think we have a group of good ones, right? So that's where I'm very confident to continue to add to my RH coin bags. And it's really, really frustrating to me when I see people. There's a friend of mine, and I love him to pieces. He's one of my dearest real life friends and early on board. And I was busting his chops a little today because he sent me like a confirmation where he had bought a little bit of Bitcoin. And I'm just like, are you excited about maybe getting a 20x in the next few months? I'm like, you could do that. You could, or not 20x, 20%.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could, because he was like, 48,000 is my target. And I'm like, yeah, so you're excited about a 20% move, bro? I'm like, you could get that in a week in an RH coin. I'm like, just quit chasing it, And it's like, so I was busting his balls a little bit. And, if he's watching this, sorry, bud. But you know how I'm
Bitcoin's cool. I like Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's cool.
I like Ethereum more.
But he's a microcosm of what we're talking about. People taking money, out of PulseX specifically in this case, and putting it into Bitcoin. Okay, what's got more upside in this coming bull market, right? Not financial advice. Everybody needs to do their own thing. But I think that's what we're seeing a lot of, because it's not just us that are getting beaten up lately. After we had the 3X, like we've been beaten up pretty consistently, but most altcoins are getting beaten up as that economic energy is funneling into Bitcoin, is my understanding of what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. Well, the basics, so there's a couple things, right, that I think we're on board with, the three of us. Already understand, based on coming up in the community, that time in the market is greater than timing the market, and that appreciation takes time over cycles and years, right? And so these first two things, the first two tenets, but there's certainly two of the tenets, those are things a lot of people hear but just ignore, right? So when you're like, hey, you know what, it took Bitcoin 13 years to get to 60K or whatever the actual number of years were, 12 years or whatever, right? They're like, oh, yeah, that's what that happened then, but they don't apply that thinking, right? And so when they're talking about it and about themselves, they're looking for, will they be rich next year or next month? And so they kind of like totally ignore this, that you have to be in the market. And let's go all the way back to something I think that Maddie said earlier about, we want people like this. We've said this a couple times on this channel. If everybody did what I do, they're all going to do, all of their portfolios are going to look like mine. That's not what I want, right? I want there to be people, and this is a shitty thing to say in a way because I want everybody to win, but I recognize for the system to be healthy, I need people that are going to come in and speculate. I need people to buy tops and sell bottoms. I need people to swing trade. I need people to migrate in and out, and I need new retail. Right. Otherwise, the asset that I'm going to hold, this is what Bitcoin did, right? I mean, this isn't like magic made up stuff, right? These are all factors that contributed to Bitcoin over time. And who got the most value? The people that held the Bitcoin for the longest period of time, right? So I don't see how it's any different. But, it's almost like, yeah, we can talk about like, I wish everybody understood. But I mean, really, I can't make them understand, but I can try. But I can't make everybody understand, and I actually acknowledge we need them, right?
We can make everybody understand, just not on the same timeline.
Not on the same time. That's probably a good
I just
point.
don't. I just don't want to get rich alone. That's my thing. It's like
Don't
it's
worry.
more fun getting rich with people, and to get people in at these levels and let them enjoy the euphoria of a bull, like from here up, is so much more gratifying than anything else I've been a part of. Because it's like those people I got in early, and they got to experience those gains, and they got to experience big payday, and they got to experience the free airdrops. It's a ride of a lifetime, man. It's been great. And so even though there's, people that want to focus on, what's happened since September 21, where, we peaked, we've been around since December of 19, and there's been a lot of stuff that happened. And there's a lot of people that are in good positions still, even after the big pullback, and maybe even in stronger positions if they've continued to DCA responsibly. So I don't know, man. It's like there's part of me that feels a little like you were saying earlier, Crispy, like we're the last of the Mohicans, and like everyone's kind of being distracted by these shiny things, and we're kind of like the diehards. And then there's other times I realize it's like, no, it's like this community is as strong as ever. There's people that have gone quiet, and I get it, but it's like, believe me, when everything starts flooding back in, and the sleeper cells, kind of like my little stem cells working in my spine right now. The HEX in particular, I think EHEX and PHEX are going to be sleepers in this next run. Dude, nobody likes buying things more than green candles, and that's what we're going to see happen. Oh, yeah. And then people are going to come out, and hopefully they learned from last time about the flexing and stuff, but they can come and enjoy the celebration, right? And then it's going to be easier to onboard. But you could be in now, and then you could be sharing with your onboards however many X's we get by the time that it's this time next year, right? If you wait until the parabolic run's happening, how many X's are you going to have for your onboards?
Yeah, dude.
So do the hard work.
So let me just say this for everybody who might want to hate on this. Take price out of the game for a minute, just for a minute. I'll be with you, and I'll be rich in HEX with you and over the years, because, man, the numbers that I'm seeing, the information that I'm seeing, it's almost irresponsible to talk about on stream, so I'm not going that far. But my God, what we keep talking about, I'm telling you, I know. This is the game of HEX, the board game of HEX. How do you accumulate more HEX? Not about price. I'm just looking into the future, and I'm just getting more and more bullish, because you remember all my stuff is like super conservative, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, well, Yeah, we could be at 30 hex per T-share per day. Yeah, we could be there. And like, it's not like a far stretch. And you know what? Maybe we are going to drop to 9.5 million next month, and in terms of T-shares, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just so bullish because it's like the harder I try to fight back on the education and and I feel like people aren't listening, the more I realize that my rewards are going up. I mean, it's like crazy, but it hasn't it always been that way for us, though, right? Didn't we even start in the beginning with trying to convince people about the idea behind staking and being able to put together a CD like ladder so that you wouldn't have to worry about income forever, at least in terms of hex. I mean, anyways, and so it's almost like the same thing all over again, just different time frame.
Yep.
We got
Yeah,
172 people, 178 people watching. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for being here. I see a lot of familiar names and faces in the chat. We got a number of people who have their own channels or who make content. So shout out to all of you as well.
Woohoo! Yes.
And and never ever take anything I say as financial advice, because it's like I'm not traditionally educated in any of these things. I'm a school of hard knocks guy, but if you just can't resist the urge to trade, if you just really want to do it, I'm going to give you a little alpha right now that has yet to fail for me. And I've only done it a couple of times, but I've paper traded it a ton just to see if it would really work out. So I've got like spreadsheets to like track this modality. If one of the hexes goes up on a day and the other one goes down, sell the one that went up and the one that went down. Like if you just can't resist and you got to trade something, guess what? That's a good move. And I've watched that play out over and over again. If Pulse X goes down really hard in a day and Pulse stays flat or goes up, or any of the other RH coins stays flat or goes up a little, buy the one that's down the most. Ink, I'm not going to say, because I don't know what the long-term outlook is on Ink. I love the idea of it. Until there's some utility, I think that that's a highly speculative play out of what's there. But if you're talking about PHEX, EHEX, Pulse, and Pulse X, sell the one that's pumping for the one that's dumping. And I have 100% success rate at increasing my bags, just like, and what made me think about it was Crispy. What's the end game? I want more HEX. I don't care about the USD value at any given point. I just want over time to have more HEX or more Pulse or more Pulse X, right? So that's my strategy. So for the degens out there that just get itchy fingers and they're looking at these shiny things and they're thinking about chasing green candles elsewhere, you can do some pretty productive things with your bags.
Toby, talk about staking, not trading.
Staking's where it's at for sure. I mean, staking's where it's at, dude. Thank you, Hexagon Lost Nation. Everyone should know staking is definitely where it's at. I'm like 98% staked right now, I think, and that's just because I had some stuff in. Normally, I'm like pretty much 100% at any given moment.
Let's do a vote because I see a comment that's particularly not true. Let's do a vote. If you think that Satoshi is missing, raise your hand. Is Satoshi in action right now or not?
Satoshi's
raise my hand if he's no. He's not.
If he's gone, is he gone?
He's not currently around. Yes.
All right.
I don't
is he
think
missing?
Satoshi's.
Is he
100%. All right.
I don't know.
What about Richard? Is raise your hand if you think Richard is missing in action. I don't think he's missing in action.
No, I don't think so.
But
yeah. AK's throwing that one out there.
AK,
I'm going to validate this a bit. Because I can understand how people could look at that and think that. And I actually got some pushback. It was a few weeks ago, and I thought, oh man, if Johnny comes on tonight, he's going to probably yell at me because I think he might have misunderstood my tweet. But all I was trying to do was acknowledge that there were some people looking at the situation where the subpoena had yet to be served, that Richard was dodging it, and that was a bad look, right? And I can agree that if you just look at it very myopically, that could be a bad look. But who would want to go and voluntarily put themselves before a court, civil or civil court or otherwise, if they didn't have to, right?
It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with true DeFi. And I'm going to keep cutting people off. if they keep advertising for a crooked agency. It has nothing to do with true DeFi. So I think the focus in our community should be the true DeFi, and where we are identifying that there are middlemen present. So for example, the bridge wasn't working for everybody today. That's a big deal. We got to talk about that, right? And part of the reason is because, according to Crypto Coffee, I guess I can bring up the tweet here. There was, there's some service. Well, there were actually two problems. There was a problem with HEX staking, and there was a problem with the bridge. So
yeah, it was like protocol.ai or something was giving some difficulty to the IPFS. But let me finish my thought here just for a second, because I know that people like AK are still kind of like are kicking this thing around. The thing that you got to think of is that just like with real DeFi, there is structure that needs to be maintained and followed to be true to that philosophy, right? So just like with what I think Richard and his very educated team are doing and the way that they're dealing with these allegations, they're playing the game the way you play it, right? It's like they have to do their due diligence to serve him properly so then he can come in and state his case. It's just all part of it. But I can understand.
But what does that have to do with crypto? That doesn't have anything to do with crypto, because the founder doesn't work for you. You don't have any expectations, and a middleman corrupt agency doesn't have anything to do with crypto either.
I get it. And it's like, what is it? You're preaching to the choir. In this case, you're screaming at the choir, Maddie. It's like, I'm with you. I'm 100% on your team on this. I get it. All I'm just saying is, like, for those people out there that have the concerns that AK just brought up, I just want to kind of reframe that for them so they are not unduly concerned about things that truly are not DeFi and don't really matter in the grand scheme. You know, everything else that Rich has been putting out there, the way that he's decentralized the websites, the way that, you know, the validation. Think about validation at the beginning. You know, there was a large amount of validation that was kind of in one bucket. And then what happened? That all went away. And now it's all completely, you know, run by the community, me being one of those validators, right? You're welcome for my service.
Thank you.
You know, so I think those are the things that we need to stay focused on. And I appreciate Maddie's passion about it. And I also have that passion. I just, you know, I always have a soft spot in my heart for people that are getting it wrong and they're getting led astray by the fear mongers out there. And it's like, I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm not saying you're short-sighted. I'm just saying you need to zoom out a little bit and really think these things through, because, you know, maybe it does look like that on the surface, but if you really dig a little deeper and think about it, it's like, yeah, what they're doing is smart. The way that they're approaching everything. I like Richard more since July 31st than I did the last year and a half during all that outreach marketing shit. The types of tweets he's been putting out, how adamant he's been about freedom of speech, how educational those tweets have been. It's like, I think it's a definite pivot into the right direction. And to me, it's a stepping stone. Yeah, well, yeah, that's to a degree. I mean, I don't know about all that. But it's like, I think to a point, we're getting to a point where basically Richard is just being honed like a sword in a forge, where he is going to be ready to be on CNBC, and he's going to be ready to be on Fox Business, and he's going to be ready to be on all these major networks talking about DeFi, right? And being the poster child for it when he gets more, you know, exposure from the movie being out there. Thankfully, you know, I'm super stoked about all that and how well that's been being received. And then also, you know, as this case unfolds, that's just more people talking about him, and that's more reason to bring him on and have a platform. And I mean, that's, you know, I can't imagine a better spokesperson. But at the end of the day, just like Satoshi, we don't need Richard for HEX to operate properly, for Pulse to operate properly, for Pulse X to operate properly. This is DeFi, right? It's DeFi. So just think it through. Don't be, you know, don't freak out, people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get off my stump.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
yeah. So to Coffee's thing about the bridge, because that's important, because I could see that being, you know, there's like Dolomite. God love Dolomite. He's been around a long time, but boy, that guy will freak out. He's always the canary in the coal mine. Something's going sideways, and he starts screaming about it. So I saw him talking about like, oh, the bridge doesn't work. The bridge doesn't work. And then, you know, so yes, I used
the bridge just fine last night. Okay. So it's working for some people. Some people, they have an internet service provider that blocks IPFS. What is IPFS? IPFS is the interplanetary file system. What does that mean? It's like a bunch of nodes that are running a decentralized version of the internet, so that if your website provider takes you down because of a court order, it can still be accessible under certain circumstances. So IPFS isn't like, we've heard some misleading statements in the community. I'm not like the most like qualified to speak on it, but as far as I understand, it's a situation where if you upload a picture of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky smiling together, you have to have people accessing that in order for it to be maintained. So like, if nobody ever goes to the picture, it gets pruned out of the system and it doesn't last there forever immutably. It's like, only if the nodes that are hosting it, if they keep getting requests for it, then it continues in the in like the future nodes. And so something like Hex or Pulse Chain or the bridge or the staking software and stuff, like those things are highly likely to continue to exist in IPFS because there's so many people who are incentivized to use it. It's much less likely to fall off due to obscurity. But, it's important for people to understand the technical underpinnings of how all this stuff works. And that's part of what being real DeFi is for the nerds who are watching this show, who are super invested and staked for 15 years and want to understand and learn every week. They don't want to learn about doggy coins. They don't, they don't want to learn about trading. They want to learn about the tech, right? So there's all these different systems that are interacting, and the system of the software that you're using to run the front end of Hex, to run the front end of Pulse Chain, PulseX, the Pulse Chain bridge. These are all things that have become downloadable, which is a really powerful thing that hasn't existed in other cryptocurrencies as much. So that's a big deal. And there are a couple of hiccups here with certain centralized agencies that have marked the IPFS links as possibly malicious, because sometimes they are. And so Crypto Coffee is saying here what he thinks the issue is with the new warning that comes up in MetaMask when you try to stake Hex. And then we'll hear from other people that have theories about what's going on with some people not being able to access the bridge. But in both cases, these are things that are kind of knowable and expected, and part of having decentralized finance that isn't just a narrative, but it's a true thing. Do you guys have any comments on my rant right there?
No, I think that's great, man. It's like, because it's almost like prejudice, right? It's like people get judgy about things that they don't fully understand. They get scared of things they don't fully understand. So it's like, if you can just like slow your breathing down, educate yourself a little bit, all this stuff becomes a little less scary. And it's like the structure and the underpinnings. I think KDP did a great job, like right off the rip, when all this stuff started becoming decentralized with the links and talking about IPFS. Maddie, you've spoken about it before. I think you two, honestly, from what I've seen, have done it the best. Search that stuff out, learn about it, understand it, and then it's less intimidating, and then you're less likely to be kind of pulled by the emotionality of the crowd if you kind of understand, what's important, right? Because there's lots of shiny things out there, and you can be looking at game theory and tokenomics and which meme's going to pump next and all this other stuff, but then effectively you're just trading and gambling, right? If you really are here for DeFi and you're here for like long-term financial products, like Hex, and want to learn, this is the way you do it. Maybe not as sexy, but I think in the long term, you're gonna wish that maybe you put a little more energy into understanding these structures and why these things are important to put some effort into than the next funny meme.
Yeah, I mean, so Silver the Antidote's saying that there are more outflows than inflows. Okay, we already knew that. because we looked at the chart and we saw the price went down. So like that isn't new information, and that's not forward looking either. It doesn't tell us what the future is going to be. What tells us about the future is the chart of future market supply, where people still have HEX coming out for the next 15 years. And so they're going to be incentivized to talk about it and to, let other people in crypto know how good it is. Whales not deploying, because there's an SEC case looming. Name a crypto where there's not an SEC case, right? The SEC
Right.
is capricious. That's what the courts are saying. So we've had whales come in and out recently. So it's completely not true to say that whales are dismissing this. Whales are humans. They look for opportunities, and so that's if you're a whale, then you're not speaking for all the whales. There are plenty of people out there who don't even speak English, who haven't even heard of HEX. There are plenty of people.
Whales don't. I mean, let's get real about it. Whales don't kickstart runs. Like real whales, they don't kickstart runs. They
can.
Well, they can, but the reality of it is most whales, and the way they become whales is if they're a little on the verge of unethical, they'll shake other people out by dumping the price, so they can swoop back in and gobble up that big mouthful of krill, right? Just like you've seen a whale do on the nature channels. Same deal, man. They spook it and then they scoop it. That's what happens. So they can get a bigger bag. They get a bigger piece of that supply, like Crispy and I were talking about earlier. And they will slowly accumulate at the lows because they don't want to push the price against them, or they will or the liquidity provide at the lows, right? So those will be areas in which they will be accumulating quietly because they don't want to push the price up. It makes no sense. Why would they want to pay more for something if they can quietly gather more of it? So I think, there's a lot of misunderstandings about how, some of these bigger money players work. You're not, and it depends on what you call a whale too. I mean, some people might think somebody trying to do $100,000 buy is a whale. It's not a whale, bro. AK, I appreciate your input, but, and I don't think you're wrong either about the too much capital at risk. I think there is some fear in the market right now. It makes sense. Look at the price charts. It's like we've been going down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not surprised that there's outflows. That would make sense right now, and it's like as things settle down, and as we just talked about earlier with Bitcoin and Ethereum, as people start to take profit on the blue chip coins and start to be looking for greater gains, then that economic energy will swing back our way, guaranteed. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it's damn near a guarantee, bro. It's like, call me on it later.
If people are spending too much time looking at the price chart of what the price is today, you're not thinking forward far enough. So
yeah, you need the price twice.
It's dumb.
Price matters twice. When you buy it and when you sell it. I mean, I'm not looking to sell anytime soon. It's like, so I really don't. I mean, I like playing with charts, but other than that, I could kind of give a shit about the price. I try to get the best deal when I'm buying. But I mean,
people who want to sell now can sell now, but it's not the best time to sell in the past 6 months. So what were you doing when it was the best time to sell in the past 6 months? I don't know, but you weren't probably adding any value to the system. So I don't want to dwell on it. Look, if you want to get money, into Pulse Chain, let's get to the heart of the matter. If you want to get money into Pulse Chain, you can try using a different source of internet than your ISP, because the IPFS will probably work for you. Now, using your phone is a little bit more like slightly riskier than using a secure computer with a hardware wallet. But if you're only doing a small amount that, and you don't think that your phone's been compromised, then you might be willing to take the risk to get the money into Pulse Chain. You can see if it will work, if the bridge works just fine using your phone connection. Another thing that I would do if I was thinking critically is I would shut off my internet and I would use my phone as my internet, as a hotspot for my computer that has a hardware wallet on it. So I can really actually see, because the most likely thing that's blocking you from using the bridge is your internet service provider putting a filter on your router. So boom, solved. That's one way to get around it. What's another way to get around it? How do you get money into Pulse Chain? Well, you can use Portal X Swap.io. I used that to get $100 off Binance that was trapped and to put it onto Pulse Chain. I think right now, depending on what the liquidity is, determines whether the swap goes through or not. But I was looking at it today to recommend to my friend who was having trouble, and it looks like a really viable option. That could be something. You have to look at the fees, but it might actually be a really good deal to use portalxswap.io, which is part of, I think, the Power City suite of things.
Yeah.
It's live. I've
It's
used
slick.
it. It works.
It does.
It's a cross-chain swap. Cross-chain swap, right? So you could trade Bitcoin for something. You could trade something on Binance. It doesn't matter what chain it's on. You can end up on Pulse Chain. So that's really
it's like
cool.
It's like a better MetaMask swap, really, because it's like they don't ding you with like a heavy fee like MetaMask swap does. It's like I don't even necessarily trust that MetaMask swap is getting you the best deal when they're doing like the cross chain or the cross, the DEX aggregator thing. My experience with my experience with Portal X has been really good. I haven't used it a lot because I have my normal routes of doing things, but I wanted to try it. So time pays me. I messed around with that a little bit a couple weeks ago and last week. So I like to dabble in all these things and familiarize myself. So but yeah, Portal X swap I think is a good option. And something else to be aware of is it's typically not a good idea to have MetaMask on your phone. I do have a MetaMask wallet on my phone for very small amounts, and it's typically just for like gifting and things like that. If I'm trying to onboard someone, I'm traveling, so I maybe have $100 a hex on there or something. Like, hey, I'll send you some. Do you have do you have an address? Whatever. Then that way it's easy. So after I saw Dolomite's tweet today about the bridge, I'm like, wonder if he's running into that on desktop or mobile. When I tried to open it on mobile, can't do it. So but on my desktop, and I'm using the same internet service provider, no problem. And then I turned off Wi-Fi on my phone to just try to do it against over 5G. No dice, couldn't do it. So that was kind of interesting, So I think there might be something with mobile.
When you say
MetaMask, that's an issue. So
when you say it wouldn't work, was it just a black screen?
No. It was getting that same error screen that Dolomite posted.
Were you talking about the bridge or something else?
The bridge.
Okay.
Yep, the 404 error or whatever that people were squawking about on X today. Yeah. So, but there's other options.
I want to go back because you guys covered a whole bunch of topics real quick. I want to emphasize something really strongly that AK was talking about. Now, I saw some of the posts that AK put in here, and but referring to some of the more reasonable stuff about market making. So we look at any of these markets, right? One of the things I've learned is that somebody does have to make markets. And when you make markets, it's not without risk. And one of the points that he or she brought up, I think it's really important, is this. Remember a few weeks ago, we were kind of kidding around and I said, HEX can go to $50 if the community wants it to go there, right?
Who is kidding?
It's a true statement that it can do that, right? But what I'm referring to when I say if the community wants to, is that people have to not sell, right? More people have to hold over time, and that helps to build that up. And of course, green candles beget green candles. But I think one of the things that AK brought up that we observed in other areas we talked about on this stream, I think a couple of times too, is that there have been a few attempts, including our friend Alex. I'd say friend,
not our friend,
as a quote unquote. But anyways,
it's a trader, man. Traders gonna trade.
Alex coming in. Yes, if somebody comes in, they try to bring the price up, and it's mercilessly sold down. It's just going to continue to be sold down. The price will be low. So those people who do have a lot of funds, ultimately they are looking for some sort of gains, and they may be willing to take volatility. But most people are not willing to put up $1 million and just give it away. I mean, it's just how it is, right? I mean, like any of us would be kind of similar, right? So they're looking for the entry opportunity that will be at a time when prices are going up. And anyways, as a community, how we can actually help bring value up is by holding more than selling. I mean, it's kind of silly, but Go ahead.
And I probably misspoke when we had Alex on the stream and called him a whale. But see, traditionally in the HEX ecosystem, what we meant by a whale was somebody who had a lot of TShares for a long time.
Yeah, that's
And
true. That's
so
true.
there is a big difference between a trading whale and a staking whale. Okay. And so I think that difference needs to be recognized, because we do have a lot of whales that we're proud of in the HEX community who used the truth engine to prove that they believe in the system and to prove that they understand the system, that they passed the IQ test of being in crypto for longer than a minute or 5-minute or 15-minute chart. So shout out to the real ones. We see you out there. Swimming
And
with
trading
you.
whales, they can shift that position really quick. They can be a whale one day and not a whale the next. Whereas if you're a
Correct.
staking whale, it's like, unless you just totally shit the bed and decide to emergency in-stake, if you're a shark or a whale or a dolphin, it's like, that's a pretty solid position for years to come with passive income. That's the whole thing. It's the whole thing, right? It's like you're getting trustless yield year over year and stacking more hex, So
Whales are being made right now, buddy.
What's another way to get funds into Pulse Chain? I guess there's a love.io bridge. Now it only bridges in love tokens, but apparently they're somewhat pegged to each other, to like the price on each chain, as we talked about in last week's episode, I believe. And so that's another way that comes to mind. If people want to buy Pulse, they might look to see what the fees would be, what the slippage would be, all that good kind of stuff. If you bought Love token on Ethereum with your ETH or USDC, and then you bridged it over using the Love bridge, and then you had Love tokens on Pulse Chain, and now you can sell those for Pulse tokens or HEX or whatever you want over there on Pulse. So they're part of being decentralized and having a whole community of builders, is that there's lots of ways, presumably, to do something like this.
Yep. Well, I mean, and like I was saying early in the stream, it's like, I think it's less sexy, but it's like, and it's definitely more difficult in a down market, but onboarding, it's just grassroots stuff. And it's like, if you're really trying to build the next generation of, people that want to take control of their own finances and maintain sovereignty of their financial futures, you need to educate about DeFi and what it is and what it is not, and how to participate. And then that inevitably is going to, get more people to get economic energy into Pulse Chain and into the RJ ecosystem, and they're going to do it responsibly. They're going to be listening to guys like Papa B, and knowing how to do the security thing. They're going to be listening to guys like Maddie with Time Pays Me, and like see the things in there, because it's, they're going to be doing the research on taxes for their given country, because making the money is only half the battle. Keeping it's the other half, right? So if you get hacked, or something stupid happens, or you do your taxes cockeyed, then you're paying more than you should, or you're losing money that you worked hard for, right? So so all these things are so much to learn, and there's a lot of people out there that don't know any of it yet, don't even know what it is. Like all the people in Colombia I talked to had never heard of it, not any of them. But by the time I left Colombia, there were more people than I could count on one hand that have my personal phone number that I'm going to be talking to, in the next few weeks, because they're excited about it. And then when I got home, I took my parents just yesterday to like they're in their 80s, cardiologist appointment, just normal routine thing, nothing to be worried about. Thankfully, mom and dad are in good shape. And I ran into a cardiologist that used to be a patron at a restaurant bar that I worked at years ago, and reconnected with him. And he was asking me what was going on. And I had a HEX hat on and a HEX t-shirt. And I had my HEX.com love handle on my phone. And I started talking to him about, being retired, and that, although it wasn't from crypto, it definitely made me feel more comfortable retiring at the age I have. And so we're supposed to go to lunch next week, and he's a cardiologist. So, and he's like in his 60s and, probably getting near retirement himself. And, was very interested. So it's like, this is the thing. These are the conversations to start having with people. And you'll figure out pretty quick, like the ones that are going to want to really put the work in. And, the people that I know that have been involved the heaviest are the smartest people I know. The people typically that just want to say, show me what button to push to get rich. Those people have not stuck around to participate in any real way and have, not helped themselves. Let's say that. But you don't know until you start talking to people. And then plus the more you talk about it, the more you learn, because sometimes, you'll get questions from an onboard and you don't maybe know the answers. So you got to do a little research yourself, or it helps hone your skills in describing and explaining things. So I think that's really the number one thing. It's like, I think the secret weapon we had early on was Staker app. Staker app was great. It really got so many people excited about.
Oh, dude, Hex Scout kicks ass. You need to check that out.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and now we've got these other tools, and like Pulse is doing some cool stuff. And it's like, there's other tools that are out there now. I've heard great things about Hex Scout. I haven't messed around with that one yet, but I've been hearing good things. Yeah. And it's like, those are the types of things that are going to make it easier for the onboards and for you, to get people to participate, right? Because at the end of the day, if we're trying to change the world, you need, people to do it, right? So it's not about pumping bags. It's about a different way to interact.
I'm kind of tired. I have hit my fatigue level on other things other than Hex.
Yes.
I don't care about I don't care about anything. Okay. I want to know what's going on with Hex, and it's pretty great. It seems like a pretty great time to bring the focus back to Hex, because there's blood in the streets. There's opportunity. That's part of like the basics of market psychology is, can you force yourself to buy on a red day instead of only buying on green days? Do you even notice that you're more inclined to buy on green days? I mean, and of course, your investing in psychology depends on you, but I have personally grown a lot from practicing only buying on red days, and I think it's a simple method to go by. So today is one of those days.
It is, and it's like, there's people dumping right now. It's like I just pulled up the chart, and it's like PHEX just got absolutely slaughtered, but it wicked back up. Like it according to this, the HEX WPLS chart, just got hammered all the way down to 6.3, which is bonkers, but it's already wicked back up to 008. So what kind of retraces that? Like in nothing flat. So like a big, huge wick like that, like a 26% bounce, like in a matter of an hour.
I know, man. I saw that.
Not even.
I sent a message off to one of my buddies right away. I said, "Hey, you just got to dip." If you
I know.
want.
It's like, dude, it's like, here I am on stream. I'm on stream with you guys, and I should be buying dips right now. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, what the hell? We're streaming, and everybody else is buying, and
I know, right?
The best
it's
price.
Like,
what the hell?
Talk about taking one for the team. It's like, geez,
I know.
I'm missing out on some nice red candles. Damn it.
I'm gonna jump in the DeLorean and rewind to earlier in the episode.
Dude, I was feeling so good about buying the dip yesterday, and it's like, oh, the dip got dippier. What the hell? So it goes. But so what do we got in the chat here? We got Mel Tony's holding down the fort per usual.
We got 200 people. 200 people are here showing up for themselves and for Hex. I love it.
I love it. Appreciate it. Yeah. Do you guys think we'll get parity? I mean, with all this volatility lately, it's like, wouldn't that be crazy? It's like if we ended up with parity on the hexes again. I mean, I know that price doesn't matter, but just for something fun.
Well, I think it can get close. I mean, it went. The ratio really closed today at the moment. But I think it's going to open back up. I mean, I lean to I think that this 2 to 1 is probably a reasonable expectation, but it can be changed all the time. So it's okay with me. I don't, not set that those have to be the numbers,
Right.
But yeah, I like that too. I like seeing that. I want to see it flip just for fun.
Right. No doubt.
Even if it flips back, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some good stuff. I'm like, I keep looking at the data. Of course, that's what I do every day, right? And I'm building more content. And the deeper I go, the more bullish I get, with everything that's happening. I do have a challenge out there for myself and for others right now, 2039.
Okay.
How many T-shares do you need to be a dolphin? 3. To be a shark? 30.
What?
Right. To be a whale? 300. Right. Well, yeah, that might be too much, right? So we only have about 3,000 T-shares right now out in 2039. So anybody, this isn't for everybody. So the rest of you guys just take a break for a second. But for the ones that are interested in what's going to happen in 15 years from now, huge contrarian opportunities in 2033 and 2037 in terms of T-shares not being out there. And the longer if you think of it as this, the number of T-shares out in those years today versus what they'll be in the future, or could be today, there's like this opportunity, right? And that opportunity every day gets smaller, creating greater and greater opportunity loss or opportunity cost. And so, anyways, what I'm getting at is I'm beginning to think with everybody looking left, I'm going to be looking right. I mean, I did some this week. I'll do some more.
Up
But
into the right.
just the idea of putting 100,000 hex out there, even like at a price like this, where you're going to put $800 on the line, put 100,000 hex out there in 15 years, that's $800,000 at $1. I mean, assuming that hex only goes up to $1 ever, so that $800 becomes that. Now it's not a guarantee. Risk adjusted. I mean, it's just looking at what the possibilities could be. It kind of gets me over the top bullish. I'm like, man, I mean, because it's like buying a lottery ticket in 15 years. You're just going to wait until you get closer to see whether it actually hits.
Absolutely.
That sounds like a really good deal.
I think that's one of those things too, Crispy, that comes just with experience and time in the market. Like you're just not as, you're just not as swayed. You just don't. I mean, for me, it's like I just don't get as emotional as I did like back in 18, 19. It's like I remember like feeling like I was gonna puke or worse, often back in that first cycle that I went through. And now, even though there's been some like kind of pukey days, or months even, I just weather it more because it's like I see the bigger picture, and then I see that accumulation of hex yield day over day that's mitigating any downward movement in the price and preparing me for amplified gains when the bull market resumes. So it's just like I have this kind of steady easiness about me. Like my fiance's dad asks anytime he happens to come across anything where the market's not doing great, it's like, is Toby okay? Because he knows like how heavily I'm into this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'm good, dude. I'm like, I feel solid. It's just because I'm confident that these cycles are going to do what they do, and we're on the cusp of it. And it's that final shakeout. Because imagine like hanging in there for like 3 years and 6 months of a 4-year cycle, and then in the last 6 months is when you find like your nerves just shatter, right? It's like you're finally just like, sell, and you just cave. It's like, how horrible is that? But it happens. I mean, I'm laughing.
But I don't, Toby. I do not understand that, because why didn't you sell at 12 cents?
Right. Well, because it's the flip side of it.
Why didn't you sell on the 3x pump that we just had? We just had a 3x pump.
It's the fear and greed index.
It's because people are so greedy, and they're not honest with themselves, and they're playing a short-term game, and then they're crying. And I don't want to hear it anymore.
No, it's.
But you are going to hear it every week.
I don't
Well,
want to hear.
I guarantee it.
if you got me on here, you're going to hear about it. But I mean, but my point of ever even bringing it up is that I'm trying to like steady those people's nerves. Like, don't be so reactionary. Like, look, like zoom out, look longer term, do the math, right? On like, what kind of yield you're earning year over year, and that's slow. And maybe it's not as sexy as like looking at a chart and see, like, it was fun when we got that 3x. It was just in a matter of like days. I was like, bam, we're up 3x. That's awesome. It was exciting. I'm not lying. But there is something that's just more sustainable about like, 30 some percent additional hex dripping into my wallet every, year over year over year,
Boom.
and me retaining my TShares. And, and as you get into it more and you kind of understand those things, then you don't get you're not so trigger happy, right? And then maybe you don't get as greedy to chase the other thing that looks like it's doing better than your thing. Because that happens a lot too. And that's how people end up just, pissing their stack away. And it's a shame. So yeah, so be, if it's like Kareem said in the movie, it's like, this isn't, playing. This is an investment. Like, you don't put money in that you're trying to go do something else with. This is an investment for your future.
Unless you're gambling. If you're a short-term gambler, then go watch a different channel. Get out.
Then go short Hex.
Yeah. Go do it.
Do that.
Here's a comment. Thanks for the $10 super chat. Hey guys, thanks for what you do. So I talked about a sacrifice. I never hosted a sacrifice. I never held any keys, but I lost a lot of money on that one too. But yeah, if I were you, I would go to the website of the project, pulsehotlist.com. I would go there and I would add the token address for what the token is called. And then you would see that you got your tokens from whatever that were airdropped to you. And you can go back and look at the price chart, and you and I can both cry about how I didn't know. I was launching Time Pays Me at the same time that token was getting launched, and I didn't know it traded for 10x higher than SAC price. And then now it's 90% down from SAC price. So all of our tiers, will be soaked up, and that's fine. But there you go. Boom. But again, I'm tired of talking about stuff other than Hex, and I like Hex. And
Hex is simpler. It's and I think we get,
it's got trustless yield.
Dude, it's trustless yield. It's really simple, and it's I get it's kind of it's a girl, it's a little older, she's not the sexy new freshman on campus or whatever, maybe she's, a postgraduate, whatever. But you know what? Those older girls, they know a thing or two. And, they might teach you something that younger girl that catches your eye immediately is, number one, it's going to break your heart, probably spend all your money. That older girl that's got some
terrible
education,
analogy.
It's a horrible analogy, but she's going to have
shut this down.
Money of her own.
Can I just substitute guy in there?
It's the stem cells, man. I blame it on the stem cells. My brain's a little crazy.
All right.
Oh man!
Go ahead,
hey,
Chris.
no, I wouldn't mean to interrupt you. I thought that was funny though. Hey, I'm with you on all this, man. I mean, like I said, I am fighting the fight. I'm hearing a lot of stuff every day. Holding strong with my belief with Hex. Somebody in the not financial advice, my decision. I went into this eyes open from the beginning. Somebody in the chat was mentioning how long would it take. A couple of streamers came out recently. We're just talking about the same type of topic. Yeah, when we talk about delayed gratification, we're talking 4 to 8 years, right? Not a popular thing to say to people. When am I going to get rich, right? So, yes, in my first cycle with Hex, so in my first cycle with crypto, right? Okay, maybe I'm just not the smartest tool in the shed, or sharpest tool in the shed, in that I didn't know what the hell was going on. With Hex, though, I knew a little bit more. But this first cycle, am I rich from Hex? No. I mean, on paper, maybe some people would argue yes, right? So yeah, my kind of feeling on it is I'm not even till now, I didn't start seeing the true power. That's why I keep getting more bullish about it, right? It took 4 years of being in HEX, even though I'm already been a believer. But now I'm like, oh man, maybe my super conservative ways are a little bit off, right? Because I'm seeing more. And I fully expect anybody hearing me is going to be like, a lot of people will be like, yeah, I don't know. Let me wait 4 years and see what happens. Well,
Yeah.
but by then you can't go back and fix it, right? So, I mean, how many,
right.
I mean, I clearly right now, I could have millions and millions of dollars, right? If I had gone in much heavier in the beginning, because I believe that much, but it was new, right? Just like for the people coming now, it's all new to them. And so I think a nice, steady, normal approach. I'll put more in than you're willing to lose. Do your research, make your own decisions, figure out how stuff's going to work, and make your own plans and work with it. But yeah, you might get lucky and you're smart enough to buy the lowest low and you sell at the highest high this cycle and you make some money. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But for me, it's about passive income. I want to know what's going to happen for me in 2038. All right. I want to know what's going to happen in 2031 and 2032 and etc. So I have a long ladder. In fact, I'm going to do an educational stream probably this week just on CD ladders. I'm not even talking about HEX. Just on CD ladders to kind of get to the point where, some of the people that might tune in, because maybe a lot of people don't know about CDs. I don't know. I'll bet you if you did a survey, you should do this, Maddie. Probably 95% of the people that listen to your show, they never even got a CD. They don't even know what the hell we're talking about.
Oh, come on, guys.
No, dude, you don't patronize. You patronize me.
Don't you?
No. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
but I'm yelling at the audience.
I don't even know. Yeah,
you guys don't know about savings bonds.
Well, dude, who in their right mind today?
Certificates of deposit. It's like, great.
A savings bond would be like a grandfather, a great grandfather, or grandmother gave them.
Right.
I mean, who even buys them now? Nobody even buys them. I mean, I'm sure there's some people. I mean, when I was growing up and I was an adult, I was buying them. Why? I was getting 14% interest. Goddamn right, I was buying them. Right, but I mean, whatever the percentage was, might not have been that much. But it was high. It was higher than what ended up happening after 2008. Anyways, my point is, I'm guessing a lot of people don't know that if you go buy a CD, guess what? Bigger pays better. You know what? Longer pays better. Oh, by the way, you want your money out early, you pay a penalty. God, does any of that stuff sound familiar?
A little bit.
And now if I label myself a nice stream, Maddie, and I start talking about certificates of deposit and I go over those, you think I'm going to get much blowback on that from anybody? Nah. I'll be talking about how do I stake my fiat and earn more, right? But if I change it to HEX, then this is bullshit, right? Sorry about that. But here's the thing, it's like that's the thing. People just don't understand. Some people don't understand. And I think it's good to keep pushing this with them. Maybe I'll get some streamers and some people can watch the stream. Just understand what CDs are in the first place and then be able to understand that HEX is a trustless version of that where you don't have to rely on the bank to give you the inflation.
If you guys don't want to hit the like button for me, hit the like button for Crispy right now or get out. Because we got
take
people
your fiat CDs with you.
We got people in the comments who are pointing out that only half of the people have liked the stream. And if you don't like it, you can get out. Those are the choices. All right.
Don't let the door hit you in the tootie.
That's
Keep
right.
it G-rated for you, Maddie.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like I had I had bonds with like my face and Cream's face and like Whales Only's tail in the intro for Quanking. Let's see. Blast from the past. Let's see. Can you spot the certificate of deposit or bond or savings bond in this clip?
And this is from Maddie Allen.
Oh, wait.
And this is from Maddie Allen of Hex Therapy Live. After Richard's done with stream, I hope it's still hours away. The new HEX Quant and I will go live to show off a new chart for HEX USD price appreciation with staked interest factored in.
It said on the savings bond, it said the
It did.
United States of Hex.
United States. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. I don't remember that honestly, but I probably saw it about 100 times. Mm.
I'm glad I pointed it out then. Yeah. Long time ago.
Very nice. Very nice. So, yeah. So I
So you
told you
got
about.
you got some data to show us?
Yeah. Somebody was asking what you needed to be, presumably what you might need to be a whale or a dolphin in the future. So I figured I'd pull it up and queue it up. If you want to throw that on the screen, you can. This is just.
What were
I'm
you
not
gonna
sure.
say just now?
I don't know. I was probably going to say I talked about 2039, and I mentioned that. I'll probably show you that chart too if you like, which is just the TShares going out. Well, yeah, I don't have a belt yet. Never mind.
Like,
But we don't have very many TShares out there in 37, 38, and 39. And so for those people, you have to get all the way where you qualify for this. Otherwise, you don't qualify for the alpha, right? But if you get all the way to the point that you qualify for the alpha for 36 through 38, 39, you should be looking at those areas and what your rungs look like, because it doesn't make any sense in any way, shape, and form if you plan to be in the hex ladder system, have a ladder, that you don't get them now because the price is going up so much.
cool.
So I'd say get them now, don't wait, if that's what your plan is.
Only getting 3 TShares in 39 probably isn't going to make you a dolphin in 39, but it'll make you a dolphin for now in 39 until more people restake.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of
that
that's
should
kind
be
of
said.
that's shares out there right now in 39, and so to be a Poseidon, it's 10%, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to be a Poseidon, that's 300. Oh yeah, we can look at this too. That's 300. I'm going to go scale this up here.
There are only 3,000 TShares in 39 currently. Is that what you're saying?
Currently. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this presumes, when I look at this this chart here, make sure you guys can all see it. Okay, that looks good. In 2039, based on current staking activity that we see on both chains, I'm expecting that perhaps there'll be 4 million TShares, right? But as of today, nobody's created them, right? So there's 3,000 that are out there. Now, I presume that people will do what they've been doing and restake a certain portion of their hex and go out. But in the meantime, that hasn't happened yet. And so what does that mean? Well, when they finally get their hex, whether that's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and they decide they're going to stake into 2039, what will the share rate be? Much higher. All right. And so by me going for myself and getting TShares now in 2039, I'm getting them at the absolute best price. I become part of, in terms of hex, I become part of the group of people that are controlling that 3,000. And anyways, the sooner I get into that, the better off I'll be in terms of what my TShares earning is compared to everybody else out there. Well, I shouldn't say TShares, my hex, because TShare will be a TShare anyways, but I would have gotten more for the same amount of hex. That's my point about that. So we are seeing, normal progression downwards in terms of TShares, and what we're seeing on the different chains. So, we're right now as a example, our squids are 96.82 today. Anything above that, up to the 968 level, is a squid level. And if you wanted to maintain squid level, I'm saying you need to at least keep 41 in your wallet or ladder until 2039. That makes sense to you. So it's just part of this thing about this game, and recognize, everybody, this is an estimate based on what's been happening. I've got some super super strong alpha that I'm working on. I'm just digging into the details a little bit further. But just because I look at the past and I try to predict the future with it, forecast it, doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. There's bumps in the road. Like our 32K, we didn't hit 32K over Thanksgiving. I shared that a few weeks ago that probably wouldn't happen here. And now we have a reset date. I'm expecting the reset to be, January 24 with a 32K. In the meantime, we'll just crawl upwards and to the right. And then shortly thereafter, within a month, we'll be at 33. So it's just how the system operates in terms of that stuff and how it crawls up. The other thing I was looking at most recently is don't be surprised. We see during the same period of time that our TShares drop, from 9.7 down to 9.6-ish, to some new level. I mean, we're looking at today, on the Ethereum side, we're at 9.7 million and 9.78, just a bit more on the Pulse side. I expect to see us trim 150, 200,000 TShares off that. Now, the only way that won't happen is if for some reason a whole bunch of people decide they're going to mint. But here's the thing: is that's great for the people who not mint, but people are going to get their TShares. That's great for the people who get their TShares, right? That's great. But the people who don't get them, they just miss that opportunity, and then they can never make it back. And what's even crazier that is it reinforces what we'll get for the ones that actually get them, because there's a pot of HEX that'll be out there, and it's going to be split between the TShares. And so if there's only 3,000, there's only 3,000. And that's how it'll go. Anyways, I've been getting kind of super bullish about it because risk adjusted to everyone's own circumstance, it just makes so much sense for me to create rungs out there. And I know that's contrarian because I heard 3 times in the last couple of days, this Quattro Cinco stuff is terrible, worst thing ever. And I'm thinking, I don't agree with this. I think
right.
I think having a good ladder setup is important. And that's certainly a fact. I wouldn't tell people, unless up for a very special case, I wouldn't give people advice to only go Quattro Cinco. But when
depends on your age.
Right.
That's true. I probably still wouldn't do that myself if I was giving advice, which I'm not. But I mean, for myself, I wouldn't and did not do Quattro Cinco. And I couldn't even imagine if I was younger doing Quattro Cinco.
I got some Quattros. I'm older than you, Crispy, and I've got some Quattro Cincos out there. You don't have any 555s?
I do. I got tons of them.
He didn't do all. He didn't do all Quattro Cinco.
Yeah.
Well, when I say hundreds, it's probably not hundreds. It's probably over 100. But thank you, HSIs.
Yeah, right.
I got all this. Well, I supported the system. I'm not sure what the results will be on some of those because I have little tiny ones. But all I'm getting at is I think it is part of a good strategy. And like we were saying before, I mean, $800 to some other number in the future. I mean, certainly at the very least, you're looking at the 5 to 10x, in terms of X, and that's awesome.
Nice. Here's a good question. Would you create TShares for 2039 on Ethereum or only on Pulse?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. And so what did I do? I went with Pulse first. And I'm not against doing it on Ethereum, but I went with a different strategy with my HEX. And so I didn't even have it available to do. And so, yeah, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it. But granted, right, for all the same reasons I say that Ethereum HEX is going to sell at a discount, they all apply to the same concern about a Quattro Cinco over there. And in fact, I'm thinking I definitely would want to be doing at least 100,000 HEX if I was going out that long. Maybe I could get away with a little bit less, but I just don't know what's going to happen with the gas situation. I do hope it gets resolved.
Yeah,
right?
That's the big if, right?
But yeah,
Like
so it wouldn't be my McGrady. It would not be my primary thought to go EHEX first. But I certainly wouldn't be against it in a well-balanced approach to HEX. Some people really have been following the do both on both sides,
Another thing you can do is to buy DESI at a discount on Ethereum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is super sweet because then you don't have to pay the end stake fee.
That's very true.
So that's really cool. That's something that that is nice. What else? Another thing you could do is you could buy the Ethereum. You could use HexCalc. What is it? hexcalc.net.com something. And you could figure out what it's going to cost to end a stake, and then you could lock that amount of Ethereum in time pays me, and then have it for when your stake comes out.
Yeah.
Because look,
hexcalc.net.
Look, if Ethereum goes to $40,000 per ETH in this coming bull market, that's really hard to hold on to.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to hold on to my ETH, which I pretty much did not, when it went up to $4,500 and Richard called the top. That was a pretty easy trade for me to sell my ETH at that point. So, yeah, you got to buy back your ETH for $1,000 or $2,000 here recently, but yeah, I mean, if you're not an ETH maxi, then maybe you're not playing that game. But for these hex stakes on Ethereum, if they're worth anything, you're gonna have to pay up in ETH to end them. So some people might want to plan ahead.
Yeah, and our we had talked about this last week too on DESI. I just went and took a look on the Pulse side. Still running in terms of price. DESI is still 15% cheaper than HEX. And so not financial
That's
advice
awesome.
there, but that's one of the reasons I did move in. I moved the very little that I had of value into DESI for that reason, just because I had gotten it cheap. This is going back a little bit though, when the discount was more like 30% when we first started talking about it.
Well, and those numbers that you're quoting are typically quoted in the value of one hex versus one DESI per what they trade at, not the underlying value of hex that each DESI represents. And so you've already got a year's worth of yield that's built onto there. So what you're really getting is like a 10 or 30% discount.
Yeah, I know. It's
trading
insane.
1 for 1. And then on top of that, you're getting another 30% for the underlying value.
Well, and I don't want anybody to get wrecked because we're talking about it. So I'm not giving financial advice, go do it. But, when I bought it, when I swapped for DESI, it's because I'm willing to wait 10 years or 9 years, right, to do it. It's not because I'm planning on trading. It is not the purpose at all. It was just a hedge on that whole.
I've been in the camp where I burned myself on DESI before in the earlier days. I was like, oh, I can buy it for a discount. And then it went to a deeper discount and then I sold it. So yeah, that sucks. But typically, it's important to remember that you're going to have slippage. For me, typically the slippage has been like 5% in and 5% out.
Yeah,
plus the discount, it can vary widely. So yeah, just be aware of all those things. But if you are somebody who's wanting to hold until 2039 on Ethereum, it might be a really good deal to have DESI, and to play it that way.
Hey, a follow-up to this conversation we had a couple minutes ago about what to do in which chain. I'm going to have to decide this month if I'm going to go a Quattro Cinco on EHEX. Now, I'll let you guys know if I actually do that. I may do that because I haven't done it. and I'm waiting for some things to happen. I'm gonna take some of my HEX and redeploy it when I have some stakes come out this month. I've been leaning super heavy, even as I'm talking about all this, but I have a ladder ready, guys, right? So it's not the same thing for me. It's not like I don't have anything out Quattro Cinco already, or at least out all the way to 38. So I'm looking at what came out of my rungs, and I have to make decisions about what I'm going to do with those, right? And I don't want to sell right now because I could, right? I could, and then that's in the game, right? I mean, I get my income every year, every month, whatever. In terms of HEX, I could sell it, but I want to sell it right now. So what do I do with it? I could redeploy, and I like the midterm kind of 6 months to a year range, and the reason I like that is because I probably get closer to like 10% APY, and APY is kind of rising over time here. It's been slowly digging up. But I have been favoring kind of a shorter stick. So maybe when I first came into HEX, my initial thinking on it, of course, it changed the stuff all over time, right? Things came, I always threw 10% out Quattro Cinco. Maybe that's what I should do. I don't know.
Boom. I
throw
love
out
it.
50 or 60,000 HEX out that far.
Nope. Nobody misses 10%.
Right.
It's not that. It's really not that much, right, in the grand scheme of things. So, anyway, I just wanted to address that. I'll let you guys know what I decide in a couple of weeks once I get there.
Cool. We'll be here. Yeah. So Russ is asking, can you put Desi in Time Pays Me? Yes, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. That is actually my preferred way to gift people HEX nowadays. Is I give them the keys. I keep a copy of the keys, so when they lose it, then I'm like, hey, don't worry, it's still here. By the way, Richard says you should do that. He says you should keep, if you're going to gift people crypto with your own money, you should keep a copy because they will lose the keys.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah.
But like Lamont Black, I gifted him a 20-year HEX stake through Desi, and Time Pays Me. And so it's dripping to him on a linear basis. The $150 worth of Desi that I gifted him is earning trustless yield and is becoming unlocked over 20 years. So after a year, he gets 1/20th of it. How beautiful is that? It's a weekly paycheck. Beautiful, beautiful. So you can learn more at timepays.me. You can ask ChatGPT about Time Pays Me. It knows knows all the details. So there you go. And on Twitter, x.com/timepaysme, you can see the tutorial thread that I did that explains to you how to be able to undo a hack and set up a vault and all those cool things. And you can do that on Ethereum or on Pulse Chain or both. There you go.
The tools, man. It's all about having the tools, and the tools and the knowledge
Strong
will
hands.
get you ready to be better positioned for when things get crazy, right? Because it's not only trying during the downtimes, but when the green candles come, those are heady days, and you can make some equally devastating choices if you have not prepared yourself with knowledge.
The good accounting function is going to cost you the same amount of gas, and it's not going to give you the coins. So that's not going to save you. And then I think that answers the question. But yeah, you always want to shop for cheaper gas by making sure your transaction isn't going to fail because you set the gas too low. But also, if you set it to like the smallest amount that a miner will actually pick up, then you could be saving. I've saved 30% or 50% of the end stake fees by being educated on how to set a lower gas fee manually. But it is an advanced thing. So
do you have a stream on that or no?
No, unfortunately.
Maybe we should do that.
it's
That'd
it's
be
kind
cool.
of it's kind of hard to teach because even as an expert, I've screwed it up where I lost like $100 because the Ethereum blockchain just like failed and still charged me and stuff. So it's really hard for me to give advice to people about it because I'm like, well, I don't want that to happen to you. Which is why I give so many warnings. But basically what I do is I would go to Etherscan, and I would look at like what the range has been of like the gas price. I would be thinking to myself, well, I've got 14 days to end the stake. I don't want to end it early, so I'm going to wait a couple days, like just to make sure I don't end it early and like forfeit all of my big payday bonus. And then I'm going to look for like a weekend or a holiday or something where gas fees are typically lower. And then I'm going to try to do it at night. And typically I'll be able to see what the gas fees, like what they've been ranging at. And because it's going to be a more expensive end stake, you're more likely to get a lower end of the range. Like if you're doing like a gas transaction and the miner can only benefit by getting like 1 cent, they're not going to be prioritizing that. But if the average gas fee at the moment is 30 and transactions are getting confirmed at 20 or 25, then you can set it at 22 or 21. And because you're doing a $200 transaction, it's more likely to get picked up. Now, it used to be before EIP 1559 on November 15th, 2022. Before that, when it was proof of work, I would notice it would be much more likely for there to be these like huge spikes down in gas fees where I could set something more aggressively low and still get it picked up. But ever since then, that's not been the case. And so since we switched to proof of stake, there's been a more consistent floor on the lowest gas transactions that get picked up. And so, you know, if you haven't done this in a couple of years and you want to risk doing lower gas, I would not get too greedy, not as greedy as you were in 2021 with setting low gas. But go and look on the blockchain and see what the lowest transactions are that are actually getting approved in the past hour or the past day, and then set it somewhere around there, and you should get it approved pretty quickly. Like it's not going to take forever. It's going to take a few minutes. But even just knowing how to manually go in and set it lower and waiting a few minutes could be the difference of saving you $50 or $100, maybe even $150. And that's in Ethereum. That Maddie would not be surprised if Ethereum goes up to $10,000 or $40,000 per ETH. So that's probably a really good savings that you could have in the future.
Ooh, I like those numbers.
Good advice.
I have
More tools.
I've been stockpiling ETH for a long time. Remember I told you I started DCing last year in July?
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm finally
Well
above
done.
on all the DCAs. Couple things on your gas prices, and you were talking about that. I do run a stream periodically. I'll update it again this week, where I do look at what people actually paid for their end stakes, and 100% right. A little bit of patience, even without doing anything funky, a little bit of patience pays off, right?
Yep.
So meaning that pretty much after UTC 0100, which is 1 a.m. UTC, is the best time between that and about 9 to 10 a.m. UTC, and that also on weekends, just like you said. And clearly I can see for the same length stakes that some people just opt to do it immediately and they pay 3 times as much, double, than the people who are willing to kind of time it and do that. So I see that happening. And then somebody was asking out in our chat here about emergency end staking. That's another very interesting topic. I don't know that there's actually anybody has demand to actually see a like extreme video on that. But the question was about 50% unstaking, you know, as an EES. If you do that, you basically lose all of the interest that occurred in the first half of the staking. You only get your principal back, and that includes a big payday bonus if it existed. You lose it. And this is another interesting topic because people keep talking about all this. It's funny. You get a lot of FUD, right? So I get a lot of FUD about the 2030 inflationary event, but then I also get a lot of FUD about emergency end staking. But both can't be true at the same time. And so let's see what happens with that, right? We could be in a situation where the guys who are coming due 2029, 2030 with all this HEX, well, they hit their 50% marks in 24 and 25. And so we may see a huge liquidity event in terms of HEX, circulating HEX, occur much earlier, but the effects of it will be dampened by emergency end stakes, meaning the penalties themselves.
Cool.
Because remember,
Yeah.
the penalties go off to somebody else. So if we had a billion that was supposed to come out in 2030 and instead it comes out in 35, you're only going to get whatever, you're only going to get whatever the principal was. All the rest of it goes out to delayed, into delayed gratification in the terms of payouts, or the other half goes off to the OA. So.
Yeah, we can have a real world discussion about gas fees and waiting, because it's like I just got back, like I was telling you, from Colombia, and I'm still in my grace period, but it's an old stake. It was like from the first week of HEX launching, so the yield was great. It was like, it's like triple what I put in, because I got a big payday bonus, all that. But I had forgotten about it until we started talking about it. So I just hopped on there and took a look. If I tried to end that stake right now on the Ethereum side, $386. And that is actually more than the stakes were, even with that crazy yield. So it's just like, Ethereum. So I will let you know next Tuesday, because I'll give it a whirl on Sunday night and see how much cheaper it actually was. But yeah, those are brutal, man.
I had some 1,400 day ones, and they were coming up at $400 each.
Yeah.
So I did exactly what we talked about, and I waited until I got them for 130, 140.
Nice.
I didn't like that, but you would have do. I had to remind myself, and maybe other people should do this too, is as I was complaining bitterly about this, then I had to remember, well, wait a minute, I also got a copy of these. No, by the way, the price is about twice. And yeah, I don't have to pay much gas. So did I really lose on this deal? No. It's just me complaining because it's worth less than I want it to be.
Now, theoretically, gas should be higher on Pulse right now than the weekend as well. I don't know how that tracks, but just looking at the stake on both chains, I think it was $386 or $389 on Ethereum, 925 Pulse on Pulse chain to end the Pulse chain one, which is like what,
inconsequential.
50 cents? Yeah, right.
Until Pulse is $10,000, right?
Yeah, right. But whatever.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that hit.
I got something. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy shit. Man.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
Yes, indeed. So, Maddie, how things come along with the conference?
Man, there are going to be some major announcements in the next couple weeks. I've been putting things together all day, every day. So there are some dominoes that need to fall in the right order. And then, then it'll be, I think it'll be on everybody's mind.
Nice. Looking forward to it. That was fun last year.
Yeah.
The online ones are fun.
Big time.
I mean, they're all fun, but the online ones are their own flavor of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Gentlemen.
Any more game theory on the 7-year action? What does that mean?
A 7-year action. It's not like the 7-year itch. Oh, on the 50% way, the 50% mark for EES. Yeah, Crispy could speak better to that. On that 50%.
Yeah, I might break up a little bit.
Yeah, they were asking about the 7-year, like the game theory on that 7-year mark, where people could potentially EES without reckon themselves, they'd at least get their principal back. So, I don't know.
So,
for me, it's like I just feel like it all depends on what the market's doing at that point, and if people would be, incentivized to try to capitalize. Like if we're at all-time highs, right at that 50% mark for them, then I could see how that'd be really enticing. But as far as how you play that, I'm sure Crispy's crunched some numbers around to see like, people that would be in that position at particular times and how that might, give you some advantages or some insight.
Yeah, sure. I think that there's an opportunity here. I don't normally recommend that people merge the end stake, and so it's not something that I'm looking to create a contagion with. But I can see where the strategy would work for some people, and that it makes sense to do it. So I think it's really going to come down to them, those individuals deciding, are they trying to front run it, like you're saying, in that something's happening in the system and they want to take their profits and they don't want to have to wait longer. Maybe a rung's coming up soon or something like that, versus the reverse strategy, which is to make sure you've got as many T-shares as possible covering that time frame. Now I lean the other way, and I particularly, meaning towards keeping my T-shares in place, particularly with EHEX, right? Because if there's a place where it might happen on EHEX, and even more so than on HEX. I want my T-shares to absorb as much of the rewards from that as possible. So yeah, there's probably some stuff to go along with that, strategy wise. We clearly, I have this out on the website. You can go look at your own ladder and see what the emergency end stake payouts are right now, for each of your miners. So I do have that out there, and we have that ability. Of course, we could do that anytime and just put that together. But a good question came up. It's not about the 50%, but was, hey, when does it make sense for people to merge the end stake? When would they get enough? Of course, it's a personal decision. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, none of the Cuatro Cincos yet receive anything. I think all of them go to zero at the moment. So I don't think any Cuatro Cincos at the moment. So the question is at what point, and I haven't done the math to figure it out, but at what point do the earliest Cuatro Cincos start moving into a point where they have enough yield that the yield is greater than, if it's even possible, I don't know, where the yield is greater than what the penalties are. So I know 50% you get your principal back, but what happens the day before? And what, if it's big payday, we know it gets wiped out, right? So, and it hurts a lot. But what happens the day before that and the day before that? So anyways, I want to go look and see, but might have to do some calculations. It might be, I don't know. Wouldn't it be crazy that the timing on Cuatro Cincos, even as I've said it, because I didn't do the math, so I don't know. I assume 7.5 years, Cuatro Cinco plus or minus some time, after 2019, December 2019, which kind of puts us, I guess that would put us out a little bit further. So really the 10-year stakes are the ones that would be the other way, wouldn't they? Yeah. Because I guess Cuatro Cincos would get you all the way out to 2026, 2027. So the 10-year stakes are the ones I'm thinking about that come up in 29 and 30. But I was just going after, I was thinking to myself, Toby, what if you get nothing until 50%? I'm not sure what the math is. Nobody's lived long enough to have one, right?
Right.
So
yeah, I think you're pretty brutally wrecked if you're. I know you don't get any of your big payday if you don't meet the entire length. If you're less than 50%, you lose all your yield, and then it's like a weird. It's not exactly proportional per day, and it's like there's a Hex wiki for it. I'll have to find the link.
Well, yeah. I can give you. I can.
But the math is real straightforward.
Well, what it does is on a Cuatro Cinco, what it would do is it would look at how much of a reward had you received to date, and it just simply multiplies that by a ratio of the half of the stake length divided by days served.
Gotcha.
And as I'm thinking about that, I don't know. Like I said, I have to go check some math and run some stuff. It might be that you just can't even emergency end stake a Quattro Cinco before 50% and get anything back. And that is not the same for other time frames, which is really what screws everybody up, because it's like this. It's not convoluted, but it's a little bit complex in that there's like 6 different scenarios for emergency end stakes.
Thanks,
Right.
Dev Kyle.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome. We have the Hex wiki does have that, and you can find it on that under that funny numbered URL. But yeah, sorry, I digress. I digress. Falcon. I don't know if the 10 years go to 0. I'll have to go look at them and see. I can do that quick enough on Hexfire, because I just look and see which ones are 10 years and what happens if you end them. Certainly, the closer you are to the beginning, the more of a penalty you take. More days served, less penalty.
Best strategy: don't emergency end stake unless you absolutely have to. That's why it's called emergency end stake. So unless it's actually an emergency, maybe leave it alone, right? And just have a little forethought in the way that you build your ladder. Like, it was fast and furious in the early days. It's like I mean, like that one that I just looked at that I've got coming out, or that came out that I haven't ended yet. There's another one that's like 2 days from now. So it's like I've got like back-to-back stakes basically, and I'm gonna be dinged like $400 a pop on those, because just stupid, just not understanding, what the future held. So now there's so much more knowledge available to people to like stake more wisely.
Yeah, but we didn't know. We didn't know.
Nah,
you didn't. No. You didn't know. I thought, I think the smallest one I ever made was 10,000. Thank God I didn't do less than that. I know a lot of people did, and I'm sorry that happened. But again, this is why I'm sorry that on ETH those may not be claimable. But this is why we're on Pulse and we got copies.
Yeah. Learn from our mistakes. That's why we're here sharing. So you do not have to tread the same path. Longer and bigger pays better for a reason. There's game theory and tokenomics in there that are not by happenstance, for sure. But Maddie, I'm looking forward. When is it's January what? 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th?
Yep, that's it. Same dates every year, January 6th through 9th. We've got the 4th annual HEX conference coming up here. It's a 4-day event starting in American prime time, about 6 p.m. Central time, going for about 6 hours each night. So this year it's going to be on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And if you haven't signed up to speak, what are you waiting for? Go to hexconference.com, fill out the speaker survey. The schedule will be built soon after a couple other surprises are announced here in the next week or two. So definitely looking forward to that. This year is going to be better than ever.
Okay.
Stoked. Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
So definitely stay tuned for that. And did you guys have anything else? Any other topics?
I was just eyeballing my charts, and it looks like we're very near some significant support. So I'm like trying to do some educated DCAing and get off of the stream and go buy the dip personally, but not financial advice or anyone else. And hey, don't front run me, people.
Yeah, stop it.
I'm eyeballing a position that's pretty close to where we are now, but we'll see if we hit my limit order on CalSwap. But yeah, nothing else. I think we covered a good range of topics tonight. I'm sorry I wasn't more lively. I'm recuperating as all these weird cells are doing their thing in my body. Next week, hopefully I'll be a little sharper. And then Maddie might have some tricks up his sleeve between now and next week. So I'm excited to see what that may be. And and maybe KDP will come on next week. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Katie and see when she's available. That'd be fun to have her on soon. So Maddie always keeps us in the dark until like last minute. It's like, what? They're coming on? Cool.
Any news about the highest of stakes?
It is out. It is out. The box sets are shipping. I have not got mine yet. I ordered a number of them. Maddie, I need to get with you actually because I wanted to send one your way for a shipping address. But yeah, they were supposed to start shipping this week or last week rather. So those should be hitting people's doorsteps before the holidays. If you don't have an order in and you want to try to get it before the holidays, I would encourage you to do so. There's if you go to the highestofstakes.com, you can see links of where to see it. It's available for download or for renting on Vudu and Amazon Prime and Apple TV and a couple other places. It's also, I think it's public knowledge that it's actually going to be on some airlines as well, some fancy places like Dubai. So some high-end people will see they have the option to watch Highest of Stakes on their flights for free, because typically on flights those are free. And so all you got to do is fly to Dubai if you want to watch it for free on Emirates Airlines. And then I know Maddie bought some DVDs. There's a link on the website to those as well, to where if you don't want to buy the box set and you just want a copy of hard copy of the DVD, you can do that. So haven't got a numbers report yet as far as how many streams or how many purchases yet, but we should be having a meeting after the first of the year, so beginning of Q1, and basically we're all just kind of waiting and seeing how that goes. But I know that they're working on getting it available globally. So I'm not sure exactly when all of that will fall into place, but very soon, very soon.
I've seen it many times, and I have a feeling I'm going to keep seeing it many more times. It's that good. Yeah. So definitely check it out and recommend it to others.
It's like I was one of the freaking producers. I saw it in theaters. I have box sets coming for friends, and also I bought one for myself. However, I have bought it on Amazon, and then because it doesn't even make sense, I went ahead and bought it on Vudu too, because I have this weird suspicion like that the streaming quality is a little better on Vudu than Amazon, but I bought it on Amazon first. So yeah, so I don't know. So I would say go buy it everywhere.
Yeah,
and share it. I mean, you can do gift cards for people. You can do Amazon gift cards so they can get their own copy or rent it. But yeah, get it out there, man. I think it's going to be a powerful thing for people to learn about DeFi.
I think you're going to probably, I'd be surprised if you don't see 1 million to 2 million in sales that came across on the.
Dude, that'd be great. I mean, it's like we might break even if we did that, but probably not. but yeah.
Well, we know what Toby's going to do with the money if he gets money.
Dude, I'll buy the fucking dip, bro. It's like I'll decide. I'm a very specific type of degen, and it has to do with RH tokens. But hey, Joe Venuto, that's actually a great question. We had actually talked about that early on with even like tickets for the premiere being NFTs and other stuff. And it was just getting a little convoluted, and it's like really not in the wheelhouse of the Muse storytelling team. But could be something in the future.
We could show them how to do it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, right. So I was trying to hook them up with Joe Hexotic does some really cool art, and Maddie does cool stuff with things like that. And then of course we got Gerardo in the community with Mintra. So yeah, there's options there to do something like that. I think that could be very cool. To have some collectible NFT stuff. In regards to
definitely.
But it'll definitely come up at the next meeting, because it's like I've mentioned it in every meeting for like the last 10 or 12 months. So maybe eventually they'll listen to that idea. So we'll see.
Crispy?
Oh, you mean the end or something else?
Something else.
No, I was thinking out loud. I'm thinking about this this ETH gas report. You think it'd be useful to people to have access to it, to go look at what's happening with gas themselves?
Yeah,
like
people have been commenting that they have stakes to end.
Yeah,
I
may look at that. see if I can push something out there that's publicly available for people to see.
Cool.
You
Where
know,
would
like-
people find that? Hexfire.io?
It would be hexfire.io or hexfire.io. Now I'm looking
Nice.
for 250 volunteers to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna try to get over 2,000.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
if you're
Nice.
interested in the HEX gas report, come sign
Get
up.
over there. Yeah.
All you gotta do is subscribe. That's it. Help me out.
That would be cool. Let's do it. I'll share it out. Hopefully drum up some subscribers for you. Crispy's got great content. He's got a super cool opening now that Markable Thoughts did, I believe. So
Good.
that's
Markable did.
really, really slick. And yeah, his production quality has come a long way from the early days. Yeah, it's just it always is reaffirming to me to see all these guys developing into these wonderful streamers, and I'm just lucky to be kind of hanging on in my family room, with them occasionally.
Well, look, I have an atrium now. You see,
I saw that.
I've
That's very fancy,
upgraded.
dude.
It's like being in Resident Evil. That used to be a video game, by the way. Maybe some people know.
Yeah, that's right. Or The Last of Us. It looks a little like The Last of Us.
It does. It does.
And that's fitting, right? It's like the last Hexicans. It's like we're just hanging on. It's the last of us. We're hanging on for dear life, man.
That's right. Go, say go. I'm still here.
Well, I was going to say, when you were talking about the 2039 TShares, I was like, what? So I just have to FUD this thing for 15 years and I get to be a whale?
Right. No doubt.
Yeah, I think that might be some people's strategy, man. I don't know.
What else have we got to do, right?
To be the case. It seems to be the case.
Well, it's a miracle. People keep showing up and I appreciate it. And I think we got a good
It is
thing
a
going.
miracle.
So don't let the short term get you down. And you guys got any final words for the audience?
Buy the fucking dip, you pussies.
Hey!
Not financial advice. Sorry, I get a little slap back. It's the stem cells, bro. It's like these little baby embryonic stem cells are making me kooky as usual. So my apologies, Mom, if you're watching. I'm sorry.
Oh, you should do more Wyckoff. Very good.
Yeah, right. I need to do a cold plunge. Just dip my head in there. I think for about 7 minutes.
Ice bath. Here we come.
Right. If I stay on the stream much longer, my fiance might do it for me. I'll be drowned in the bucket mysteriously.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well,
Good stuff, Maddie. Thanks for having me.
with that being
bro.
said, everybody follow the links in the description below to follow ChrispyMan and Tobiwan and myself on Twitter, YouTube, so on and so forth. And what are you doing if you haven't gotten a hardware wallet from the link in the description below?
Come on, man.
Go ahead and follow
Alex, shout out to Magruder. He's got dad hats now. So if you can land one of these, man, they're super cool. So
yeah.
I can't rock the flat brim. I'm too old for that. Like Maddie pulls it off well, but I'm a dad hat guy. So he hooked me with the dad hat. So thanks, Brian.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got an experimental hat. It's got a few things wrong with it, but it's really nice. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
shout out to Magruder there. And yeah,
He does great work.
good stuff. Well, what else?
I've got a free hat from Rocky Patel.
I love it. And good. Well, hang in there, everybody. And until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Stay crispy.
Adios, amigos. Hasta luego.
Adios.
Use some of my bad Spanish that I picked up in Colombia.